Forced reset triggers. This last week, the ATF sent out a letter to all of us dealers about their determination on forced reset triggers. There's tons of videos on it already. I'm not going to dig into too much on that. This is not going to probably be a very popular video, but I kind of get where they're coming from in the way that they phrased their ruling. So the way that they put that out was, some forced reset devices allow a firearm to automatically expel more than one shot with a single continuous pull of the trigger. And I think that that's where I kind of get where they're coming from. With some of the triggers that are out there, you pull and you keep pressure and it keeps firing. There is no motion to release. And that's the distinction that they seem to have made. It's not that the reset's the bad thing, it's that we're continuing to pull and it's continuing to fire. There's never a separate motion. So literally the shooter is only making one motion, and that's pulling back and keeping back. So in that explanation, I get it. I don't necessarily agree that something like a trigger should be a regulated device. I think that's kind of overstepping a bit. But again, the way that they phrased it, I see how they got there. So the thing that we need to do as people in the firearms community is continue to push back, but push back the right way. It's unfortunate that a bunch of people became essentially felons overnight, and that there's no way to become legal owners of these devices. So right now, we just kind of need to deal with it and get everybody legal so nobody gets in trouble, and then push back and get these determinations to change their tone. There's a whole bunch of legislation going on right now, a whole bunch of stuff in the books about changing the definition of a firearm, making both the upper receiver and lower receiver on an AR type firearm be serialized. And at some point in time, the craziness needs to stop, because over-regulating an industry only prevents honest people from acquiring things. Somebody that's a criminal is going to figure out how to do it. I mean, look at drugs across the country. Yeah, it's been regulated, but drugs are still a huge issue on the streets. Firearms will continue to be an issue unless we start looking at it rationally. When we disarm law-abiding citizens, when we make people easier targets, then it becomes easier for the criminals and harder for the honest person. You know, if we're not able to have a gun because, let's look at the city of Chicago. It's illegal to have a firearm in the city of Chicago. So the only people that are going to abide by that are your law-abiding citizens. So that makes them all easy targets for these criminals that don't care. And that's kind of where I see things going, and we don't want that. Talk to your senators, your congressmen, all of your lawmakers. Start local. Start with your city councils. Work your way up. But the Second Amendment is for us to protect ourselves. And when our government continues to disarm us and restrict what we can do as honest, law-abiding citizens, it just makes it easier for the dishonest criminals to accomplish stuff. So, like I said, on this forced reset trigger thing, I don't agree with it, but I get how they got to where they got. So our only option is to regroup and approach it from another direction and start working on the legislation, working on getting the regs changed, working on getting our administration changed. You know, when we've got an administration that has gone on record multiple times about taking our guns, nobody needs no more than 10 rounds in a gun. They don't know what they're talking about, because you don't need it until you need it. But also, just from a training perspective, it's easier to have more rounds, you know, and there's a lot of factors, and they're not thinking rationally because they don't deal with firearms, they don't deal with those situations, and they don't know what they don't know. So we can't 100% fault them for every single little bit, but we definitely need to put the iron in the fire and start getting things going on legislation and regulations. So keep educated and keep fighting for your Second Amendment. Thank you.